Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? What is going on? It is that time of the week again, and yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is the one, the only Kyle 2K's Kaler to my left. Kyle, what's up, brother?
What up? It's been like a month.
I know. There were people asking if I was going to change the show just to the Turbo show, and I was like, no. For one, that sounds ridiculous. Two, you're my cohort. I can't just be like, nope, he's done. He's done.
And I'm back tonight, and I'm gonna be gone for a couple more weeks after this. So
well, next week's Father's Day,
yeah.
So kind of, I'm pretty sure we always kind of lay off the show on Father's Day, and we were having some technical difficulties leading up to the show, ladies and gentlemen. So I do apologize if there's a little buzzing in the audio. That is something that I could not figure out. So hang in there with us. We're going to make it worth it. 2Ks, yeah, we're going to talk some baseball this week. I mean, we're sitting here watching the Yankees Dodgers. This the Dodgers kind of opened this up yesterday. It was a very close game on Thursday. So yeah, this might be the World Series preview. 2Ks. I mean,
very good possibility.
I mean, that's kind of the title of the show this week. So rightfully so. But yeah, we've got the NBA Finals full swing. We've got Game 2 going on as we speak, so we'll kind of give you score updates on that. And 2K's NHL. NHL is starting tonight as well. No, they started yesterday.
Yep.
Yesterday. So, yeah, well, since there's really no game going on there, probably won't be giving you any highlights there. But, yeah, right now Dallas is up 13-10 against Boston in the first quarter. Yeah, that game 1 2Ks, that was a Kristaps Porzingis coming back party. That I'm pretty sure everyone can agree on that. I mean, who would have thought him busting out of the gate, or coming off the bench and busting out of the gate? Only the second time in his career coming off the bench. So I have a very good feeling, even though the Mavs were kind of manhandled in game 1. I think this is going closer to 7 than what most people are giving the Mavs credit for.
Yeah, I agree too. I just thought that Dallas kind of looked out of sorts, especially defensively. Their defense was so good in the Minnesota series, and then in Game 1, Boston just exploited some major weaknesses.
And couldn't miss.
Yeah, and then Porzingis. I don't see Porzingis continuing to knock down the shots that he knocked down in Game 1 the rest of the way through. I think this series at least goes 6. Would not surprise me if it goes to 7.
Yeah, and that's to me, this is usually the time everyone starts paying attention to basketball. Let's see here, 2Ks. Let's jump into some news here real quick. Like I said, we'll give you some updates here. And the Dodgers Yankees tied 2-2 going into the bottom of the 5th. And speaking about some news, 2Ks, did you get a chance to watch any of the College World Series or lead up to?
Yeah.
Wow.
That game today was
Yeah, that was insane. That was insane. And kind of the rule of the day here, 2Ks, is there's a lot of games that have went into extra innings. So yeah, the baseball's in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not checked out any of the College World Series or like the Super Regionals that's been on TV this weekend, wow, you are missing some really, really good baseball. But for those of you that are joining us live, thank you very much. Whether you're joining us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/2K Crew, our YouTube page, or on our Twitter account, welcome, as well as over on TikTok. What's up, TikTok crew? We told you we'd be getting back to you. We love each and every one of you for spending your Sunday evening with us. So with that being said, 2Ks, let's start off with kind of some news. I talked a little bit about it last weekend. A move that kind of had to be made. Spencer Torkelson goes down to AAA, and wow, it seems like as soon as he puts on a jersey down there, he just goes nuts.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what Toledo was used to with him before he made his debut in Detroit. And I think that's why, I mean, a lot of things went into it as far as the Tigers being so bad at the time, but Torkelson just worked his way through the minors so fast and made his way to Detroit, and it seemed like no time. I think he had like a total of 60 at-bats in Toledo before he was called up to the show. And, he's always been, in his time in Detroit, he's always been a slow starter. Even last year when he hits over 30 home runs on the season, he got off to a really, really slow start.
Yes he was.
But yeah, I think this is going to be a very short stint in Toledo. We're going to see him back in Detroit here in the next week or two. I truly believe that. I think it's been great for his confidence, because what it looked like there, especially this last month or so in Detroit, was
terrible.
Just a guy that had no confidence at all. And so to do this, go down there, relax, get away from playing in front of so many people. Not that Co-America is selling it out or anything, but get into a little bit of a smaller ballpark, go back to just having fun and relaxing, and then they'll get him back up here in the next couple weeks, and hopefully it'll take off from there. If the Tigers are going to have any opportunity or any chance at maybe getting a wild card in that American League, they're going to need him, and they're going to need that same version of him last year that we saw, especially in the second half of the season where he went on to hit over 30 home runs.
Well, here's a tweet from Calico Joe. Calico Joe makes quite a few appearances here on the Turbo and 2K show. He's at Calico Joe MLB. Torkelson immediately went down to AAA and started hitting so much that the opposing broadcast crew is begging for him to be back in Detroit, not in Clip, whatever that means. Is this fan base finally ready to acknowledge the problem has been the hitting department / coaches? And you are our resident Tigers fan, 2Ks. Is this something that is kind of troublesome? Is it something that you've been kind of paying attention to? I mean, it's
been bad. It's been
bad for a while.
It has been bad for a long time, and you think with so many guys that have left Detroit and go on to have very great seasons or great careers after leaving. And kind of going into this season, I thought that they had made a lot of changes there, and for the better. I mean, I can remember going back to the years where they have Lloyd McClellan as the hitting coach.
Terrible.
And it was like, anybody could coach this group. That's going back to when they had Miggy and Prince and JD Martinez, Victor Martinez, and I mean, so like anybody can coach that group of veterans, and they still didn't have with the exception of a couple of the guys that were always going to hit, the Miggies and the Martinez, they were always going to hit. But it was those other guys that they never could really fill in with them, the up-and-comers that come through the system. And, I think there is a major question. And I don't think it's just in Detroit. I think it goes all the way across the board. I mean, when's the last time that the Tigers have really taken a guy and developed him all the way up through, and then he's went on to have, the great career?
Pitching wise, you can say that.
Yeah,
but
pitching wise, sure,
not hitting wise.
But not hitting wise. And I understand that a lot of them there for a long time. The Tigers were trading away all their top prospects, especially in that Illich era. So there wasn't a lot of guys that were staying that that were going all the way up through. But now, I mean, we've had years of Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, and with the exception of half of season last year of Torkelson, Riley Green has been, when you can keep him healthy, he's been solid.
Yeah.
But other than that, they really haven't developed anybody else in the system. So I think that there are some question marks and some major red flags with maybe how the organization is as a whole as far as developing offense.
Maybe they need to bring Miggy back as the hitting coach. I mean, first of all, great clubhouse guy. Second of all, the best right-handed hitter probably of our generation. So would he have something to shed the light on? Sure. Yeah. But you never know. But I'm not here just to kind of poke fun at your Tigers here, 2Ks. Let's talk about Tariq Skubal. This is from Jay Hay over from the Baseball is Dead podcast. Tariq Skubal joins Clayton Kershaw in 2014 as the only pitchers in MLB history with an 18-start stretch with 100-plus innings pitched, 20 or fewer earned runs, 20 or fewer base on balls, 130-plus Ks, and 13-plus wins. Skubal is 13-1 with a 1.61 ERA, 139 to 19 K to walk over his last 18 starts going back to September 1st of 2023. And then let's piggyback it with this. This is from today. I believe he started today, right? This is from Jason Beck. Said, confirmed, this was not a StatCast quirk. Tariq Skubal's 101.7 miles per hour fastball checks out. Fastest pitch by an MLB starter this season, not named Paul Skeens, and ties Bruce Rondon 728 of 2015 for the fastest pitch by a Tiger since StatCast began in 2015. Now, when I hear Tariq Skubal, I'm not thinking like Paul Skeens numbers, right? So, and I did a little bit of digging, and this 101.7 is not normal for him, but you got to love that.
Oh yeah,
you got to love that. This dude is trending as a very hot pick for the Cy Young. So definitely got some good. You and I talked about this off air. The Red Sox and the Tigers are very similar in that we both have very good starting staffs. It's our hitting that is just completely god awful and shitty. And we both have kind of a high priced free agent, or not free agent, but high priced talent in Baez and Devers. And I'm pretty sure you would gladly take Devers over Baez.
Yeah, not even close.
But yeah, it's definitely our teams are very similar, and it is frustrating when a guy goes out and gives up two earned runs, pitches 7 innings, gives you a great start, and either the bullpen takes a shit or you get shut out or just 1 run.
Yeah.
But this is definitely something that Tigers fans can hang their hats on, and he's not the only one making some moves in that starting staff.
No.
We saw Casey Mize go out and had a really good start the other day.
Decent. Reese Olson, has been, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 outings. I can remember one just a couple weeks ago where he got, or maybe it was his last outing, he got roughed up bad. But other than that, he's been really good this season. Jack Flaherty has been a very, very good pickup.
Big breath of fresh air there.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. The Kenta Maeda has not been very good to this point. We'll see what happens here the rest of the way out. But to me, like, Drake Skubal is, if the season ended right now, he's the American League Cy Young, and the Tigers' offense is bad. And when Skubal pitches, though, the Tigers put up 8, 9, 10 runs all the time for him, and he doesn't need it. All you need is 2 or 3 for him, and you're going to win. And then you have a guy like Reese Olson who's pitched great this year and doesn't have a win on the season because they can't score over 1 or 2 every single game that he pitches. So it's got to be frustrating, and it's been kind of the same way for Flaherty. Flaherty has pitched some really, really good games. I can remember a game earlier in the year Flaherty threw 7 innings. And the game was 0-0 when they took him out, and they ended up losing that game 1-0. So he doesn't take the loss; he takes a no decision in it.
Right.
But still, you throw 7 innings of shutout ball, and your team still takes a loss. And that's just been kind of the story of the season for a lot of those pitchers. Is the offense, the Tigers' offense? There's just no consistency with it at all. There's nobody in that lineup that when you need something, you can bank on.
Right. And
one of the guys that has been, somewhat consistent, especially giving them a little bit of a power threat, is Kerry Carpenter, and he's probably going to be done. He's done for the foreseeable future, as far as with a back injury, and there's a good chance it might be the rest of the season. So,
yeah, and on the flip side of the Red Sox, the only one that can come up with a good hit is Rob Refsnyder. That was not on my Red Sox bingo card for this year. The MVP of the 2024 season for the Red Sox, Rob Refsnyder. I would have told you you're full of shit. But yeah, let's keep moving here on the news here, 2Ks. Big news out of the horse racing world. This is from the MLB Twitter account. Former MLB player and World Series champion Jason Worth co-owns the 2024 Belmont Stakes champion Dogma, or however you pronounce it. And yes, first of all, his fit and flow at the Kentucky Derby was unmatched until this. This dude... First of all, I was always a big Jason Worth fan.
Same.
You talk about just he always, and I'm saying this with the utmost respect. He's like a greasy, gritty, just dirty player, and I mean dirty by like not clean, not like cheating dirty. Mm-hmm. But he always got clutch hits. Was never really especially on that Phillies team, was never really the like crown jewel of the organization, but he was there day in and day out. And this right here, this picture, this outfit, this man is single-handedly revolutionizing a kind of a stuffy, almost uptight industry in the horse racing field. And I, for one, absolutely love it. So Jason Worth, congratulations, my friend. You are not only a World Series champion, but a Belmont Stakes champion. And I have a feeling with horse racing, this is one of those deals where once you get one and get established, you kind of the whole Bob Baffert type deal. So hopefully this is first of many for Jason, and this is another a big cash flow thing for him, and the investment side. But 2Ks, we had a baseball game, a couple of them in London, and the London folks were treated with some Mets versus Phillies over there, and Bryce Harper shined out, as he always does. He had his bat, which I did take a screenshot of, but of course forgot to put it in the show, was very, very awesomely decorated. He had the Philly fanatic dressed up as one of the guards for the Palace, so I thought that was really cool. And what does he do? Just drops dick and goes yard with that bat. I mean, speaking of awesome, Teoscar Hernandez is just tearing the cover off every single baseball the Yankees pitchers are throwing at him. He did a huge hit. He might have had 2 home runs last night. I think he had a solo and a grand slam to kind of open this whole thing up, and he goes yard again to untie this game. I believe it's 3-2 now. But yeah, here's some other news from London aside from Jason Worth and there was some. If I read the internet right, Pete Alonso got hit by a pitch and tied the game in the ninth.
Yes.
All right. Yes. So I was not mistaken that. But yeah, this, other news out of London. There was a Phillies fan that this picture is a little better. That was sporting a shirt that says the British blew a 13 colony lead. How hilarious is that? How hilarious is that? And yeah, I for one, kudos to you. You better be selling these shirts because that's awesome. That's awesome. That is completely awesome. One thing before we get out of the news part here, 2Ks, I did want to get since you weren't here last week, I kind of, and we've since seen some more of Paul Skeens. Mm-hmm. You know, last week was gargling so many different wieners, one of which was Aaron Judge, which rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But another one was Paul Skeens. And what this guy is doing, dude, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, we're talking about generational talent pitcher. He's going to be the next Justin Verlander type pitcher, the next Clayton Kershaw type pitcher. He's going to do it for a long time. He's going to and to me, like where he's at in his young career now, he's ahead of those guys.
100%.
Like he's arguably maybe the best I've ever seen at this age. And so to me, right now, like he's got to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. But as long as he stays healthy, he is going to be the best pitcher in baseball for years.
Yes. Yeah, what this guy is doing is absolutely amazing. And then
that fucking matchup betwing him and Shohei
was
awesome. I mean, struck him out the first at bat, and then comes up and I think it went to like a 9-10 pitch at bat. Could not get him out. I mean, best hitter in baseball. Mm-hmm. Best hitter in baseball against the best up and coming pitcher. I mean, Skeens is probably an all-star pitcher in baseball right now. I think he's probably top 10 pitcher in baseball right now.
Mm-hmm. With 5 or 6 starts.
Just has high velocity, just a fucking dog out there.
And it looks effortless.
And that matchup was so sweet watching it. And then he ends up trying to throw. He throws 101 above the belt. I mean, about every batter in baseball is going to swing through that, and Ohtani takes it to center field for a home run. Yeah. And Skeens just shrugs his shoulders like, what the fuck do you got to do to get this guy out?
That was the best part of that. Granted, the first at bat, 3 heaters. I think the lowest velocity was like 100.7 or something ridiculous like that. 3 swings and misses. Get out of here, bada boom, bada bing. Second at bat comes. He starts mixing in some of the off-speed stuff. And whatever that pitch is called, the splitter, or
it just falls off.
Yeah, they're just nasty,
just incredible.
And you know you're a legit pitcher when they have to come up with names for pitches that you throw. Mm-hmm. You know, we're seeing the sweeper, which I always thought that was a slider, but I guess there's different tilt or different whatever to it. Well, this dude's throwing a splinker or whatever the hell it's called, and all I know is no one can fucking hit it.
No.
And it was cool to see how, the progression from at bat 1 to at bat 2. Yes, Ohtani wins that battle, but it wasn't like he just first pitch drop dick and next thing you know it's over center field.
And he's an incredible talent, and this guy hasn't even got into a system where he's going to learn how to pitch yet.
Right.
Because once he gets that, he's going to be unhittable because right now he just completely goes on. He can just throw it by anybody, and he's got some nasty off-speed pitches, but he doesn't know how to pitch yet. He doesn't know how to last long into games and throw 7, 8, 9 inning games. He goes out there right now and throws a lot of 5 inning games because he misses so many bats.
Yeah.
So the pitch count gets high, and the Pirates they're going to be very, very careful with him because let's be honest, they're not really playing for anything. But with a guy like that on the top of your rotation for years to come, you're going to have opportunities as long as you can the Pirates go out and put things around him. They got some young talent around him that is up and coming.
That's going to be the key with that team. And then you got Jones right beside him, who without Paul Skeens is probably and should be garnering more attention than he's getting. But yeah, I was in Twitter, of course, erupts over the 3-pitch strikeout. And he did make Ohtani look kind of silly on a couple of those. But Ohtani being Ohtani and as good as he is, made the adjustment. Yeah. And then that's what Ohtani does.
And Ohtani's not going up there in situations and batting for fucking singles. He's swinging for it all. And so you have a high velocity guy. You know what he's going to throw you. I mean, you have a really good idea that he's going to throw you. And so you're juiced up for the fastball. And if he throws something off speed, he's probably going to make you look really, really dumb. Yeah. Paul Skeens is going to make a lot of guys look really, really dumb, and he can do it in so many different ways. But I just thought it was like welcome to the show, bud. On that second at bat when Ohtani took him deep, because and look, probably not going to face a guy the rest of his career as good of a hitter as Shohei Ohtani. So
and the absolute best part of that is, like you said, when the ball left the bat, Skeens turns around and he's just grinning, like he's like, you know what, you got me,
you earned it,
you got me. You got me. So yeah, that was definitely something that I did want to get your reaction to before we move on here. But yeah, 2Ks. Let's this is something that not only just us, but everyone in the media, and we have been told by a San Francisco 49er employee that we are media. So we have to run with that. I mean, it's fucking official. Trades. We're oh hell, what are we here? We are about 64 games in, so we still got 100 of them left, 2Ks.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's definitely a way too early. Where do we think these guys are going to land type trades? And 2Ks, there's a couple of these guys, and I just told you these maybe, 10 minutes ago before we started, so it's not like we've done a huge deep dive. But when I'll tell you the guy's name, and I want you to tell me if you do think he's traded at or before the trade deadline, and if so, who do you think a couple teams that would be interested would be? Okay. Let's start off with the kind of the obvious one, because the White Sox have said they're the ones reaching out to teams to try to find a new home for Luis Robert. Pretty much the only downside with this kid is the fact that injury prone.
Yeah, that's everything.
I mean, he's got a huge bat. Can play probably all 4 outfield positions. It's just the fact that can you keep this guy on the field? And the best part about him, 2Ks, is that he's under control for I believe he's got 3 more years after this year before he hits arbitration. So a very young kid, and upside is huge. I mean, but the package to get him is going to be equally huge.
He's an MVP caliber player. If he can stay healthy, he's an MVP caliber player. If he plays all 160 games in the season, and then put him on a team that's not the fucking White Sox, where he has some protection in that lineup, and right now he's the only guy in that lineup that other opposing pitchers fear.
Yeah.
So they're just not going to give him anything to hit, and he still puts up numbers as long as he's on the field and he's healthy. You put him on any other team, especially a team that's going to be trying to make a trade for him. Only teams that are going to be trying to trade for him are teams that are competing, teams that already have good lineups and are just missing that one piece. The problem with him is the haul is going to have to be so big, and teams are going to be afraid to do it because he just has not proven that he can be on the field and stay healthy. And it's always been that late in seasons is when he, has the injury where he's done for the year. So you make a deal and you make a trade, And right now, you're gonna have to give up a fucking haul because he has the 3 years of team control yet. So you're gonna have to give up a haul for him, and I just don't see where teams are gonna be. Only way that he is to move is if the White Sox are willing to give in and just take not anything close to what they really could get out of a player of that caliber.
Well, before you give your answer, if he's good, well, I'm pretty sure we both agree. Yes, he is being moved by the deadline. But let's take a look at the wild card picture right now in both leagues. We got the Orioles and the Royals on the American League side, and the Twins are actually tied. Let's see here. All right, yeah, the Twins are the third. Then the Red Sox are a game and a half back. Tigers 2, Toronto 2, Texas 2. Texas 3, Rays 3, and the Astros are 4.5. Those are games back for those of you keeping track. And on the National League side, it's the Braves, Padres, and Giants, with the Reds, Cubs, Cardinals all tied. The Pirates are a half game back. Diamondbacks are a game back. Nats are a game and a half back. And the Mets are 3 games back. So it's like every single team, with the exception of like 7 right now, are within 5 games of a wild card spot. So there's going to be there's either going to be absolutely no movement here, 2Ks, or there's going to be chaos. And the reason I say that is because, first of all, I think it's going to be trade deadline day is going to be busy, just because a lot of these teams that are still holding out hope are going to wait until, kind of the midnight hour, if you want to think about it that way, to either decide are they buying or selling. And I think a lot of these teams, with their history, we can kind of just throw into the sellers category because they're traditionally not buyers. So that's going to whittle it down a little bit. But, we've got teams like the Royals up here, 2Ks, that have been, at least in the last last decade, have been sellers. This team is not going to be sellers by any means. Not only do they have the wild card spot, but they're very close to the division lead.
Yeah, they still can win that division.
So,
for sure.
And with that young core of talent there, that's not a team that's going to be to be sellers. The Twins are another team that are historically not sellers or are not buyers. The Red Sox, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? And as far as potential trade bait, I think Kenley Jansen's about the only guy, pitching staff wise or everyday player wise, that I think anyone would even consider wanting. Tigers, I'm not really sure about their situation, but if I'm the Tigers, I'm definitely not selling. And if I am, it's maybe 1 or 2,
Sure.
kind of like the Red Sox, 1 or 2 pieces.
It's just to me with the Tigers, is there a team that's going to blow you away? If they're going to blow you away, absolutely. But if it's just going to be what we're used to seeing every single year, where you get some mid to teen prospect in somebody's organization for a pitcher, like this year it's Jack Flaherty. Last year it was Lorenzen. That had that was everybody was interested in. So there's going to be interest especially for a guy like Flaherty being that contract year.
1 year.
It's not a lot of risk with it. There's going to be teams that are willing to look at him. There's going to be teams that are willing to look in, that are going to be calling for the Tigers bullpen. Yeah. Especially some of those back end guys that they have. But to me, getting back to the talking about Luis Robert, I think there's 2 teams that I can see really going after him. The first one that jumps off at me is the Atlanta Braves. They lose Ronald Acuna.
That was my one team. That I'm like, they have the farm system to do it.
Yep.
I mean, they've signed pretty much 90% of their big league roster to decade-long contracts. So you do have a backup kind of a log jam of talent, if you will. And
the other one that really jumps off at me too is, and it's a team that's never really been buyers. They've always been sellers. But I think now with kind of the change in ownership, and really, I think this year they're really going to go for it. They have the talent. They're going to go for something big. And I mean, this is probably the best position player there is that's going to be available. And so, I mean, if you're going to go big, this is the time to do it. And Cedric Mullins is not doing it for you in center field. Here's your opportunity for the Baltimore Orioles to go. And they have the best farm system in all of baseball. They could give up 2 or 3, and it's probably not even going to – I mean, you're not giving up Jackson Holliday.
No.
But you have 2 or 3 other guys that you can give up that are kind of position locked. They're not going to be able to
Heston Kjerstad.
They have no time. I mean, they have nowhere to put them.
Right.
So you can. They definitely have the people to give up to go and get him and not have to give up your best in Holiday. And look, this Baltimore team's going to be good for a long time.
Yes.
And so you're out of the trade. You're bringing a guy like Luis Robert, who I already said is an MVP caliber player. And you have them under team control for some time. So they're the one organization where I'm like, okay, if you want to give up 2 or 3 top end prospects for that, I think I could probably get behind that if I'm a Baltimore fan.
Now this guy just came to mind, so I didn't even have him on the list. And going back to the Baseball is Dead podcast, big shout out to them. What about Mason Miller? Mason Miller is a guy who I think Mason Miller fits better into that Baltimore team than Luis Robert would. Now, both guys super duper young. It's kind of hard to say or kind of project which guy would kind of garner the most haul. But now, mind you, the biggest difference is that the White Sox are actively shopping Luis Robert. The A's are not shopping Mason Miller.
Oh, hell no. But there's going to be probably 30 teams that are going to be interested
100%.
in Mason Miller. And the haul to get him is going to be huge. And I think he's the one where he's the best pitcher and that you can go after right now, especially especially with how postseason baseball is played. You're looking for overpowering arm that can go and get you a inning, and that guy is is just as good, if not better, than everybody in baseball at doing that job. And so to me, there's probably going to be a team. I mean, 2 teams right here that we're watching right now they don't care. They were going to give up whatever it's going to take that's going to give them a chance to win it all, and that's what they're going for. And so these teams right here would not shock me, where they would overpay and basically put Oakland in a situation where they can't say no.
But is it possible to overpay for a guy like Mason Miller?
Oh, I mean,
I'm sure there is,
yeah,
but I mean,
you're not going to see it in anytime soon. So you can pull that. That's why you can do trades in baseball and not so much look bad on them, as long as that player performs, or if you go on and win a World Series or anything with that, because you're probably not going to see the players that you trade for 3-4 years, and well, by that time, most people that follow sports, baseball especially, have forgotten all about that.
Well, the one thing I haven't forgot is Trent Grisham just hit his got his 5th base hit of the year, 3 of which are home runs. 2 Ks. I didn't know if you know that, but filling in admirably for Juan Soto. Definitely not. I mean, that was like a Juan Soto-esque shot there. But yeah, the Yankees are up 5-3. Yes, there are probably multiple other pieces to this White Sox puzzle that will be moved before the deadline. But yeah, the one that garners the most attention in my mind is Luis Robert, and I'm right with you with both of those teams. They have the firepower to go do it, and I think the Orioles are more. They need a little bit more help in the bullpen as opposed to on the field, but either way, I mean that would be huge for them.
And I get caught up sometimes because I think so many people like they treat these prospects like gold, and they put so much into them, and very, very few pan out.
Yeah.
And a guy like Luis Robert, like, that's generational talent that if he can stay healthy, I guarantee you he's better than everybody you got down there on the farm.
Yeah.
With exception of maybe Jackson Holliday. I know Jackson Holliday's first stint was not good, but anybody that knows anybody that knows anything about baseball knows what we're going to get out of Holiday in his career. The kid's 20 years old.
You can't even buy a beer after the game.
Yes, but when you have when you have an opportunity right now to go at a team like the White Sox that are obviously going to be in seller mode, this is your chance to go and get a guy like Luis Robert. You got to be
do it.
willing to give up something big and stop holding on to all these prospects that you're probably not going to fucking do shit with any of them, because most, like I said earlier, most of them are position locked anyways, where they don't have a spot. And for Baltimore, like, yeah, there are a lot of question marks, and you have to do things for that to make your pitching staff better. But Cedric Mullins in center field is not getting it done either.
Which is a shame because he was there for the shitty times, and now it's the good times.
And had a pretty damn good season last year.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of their success was, I thought they peaked early last year, like they were better than what they should have been. And then this year and on was supposed to be like their time. Mm-hmm. And it's too bad that Mullins isn't playing like he was last year, because last year had a very good season.
Yeah.
Batted a lot in the middle of that lineup, and to where this year he's kind of found himself in the 8-9 spot all the time.
With a vet like him, though, you kind of have you're probably betting on him figuring it out.
Sure,
figuring it out. Let's move north of the border here, 2Ks. Let's talk about Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette. I think it's kind of safe to say that this core group of kind of the baby Jays, if you will, Kevin Biggio has already been DFA'd, so he was, him, obviously Bo Bichette and Vladdy all are sons of former major league players, so it was kind of that renaissance up north, and it really hasn't worked out. I mean, what have they made the playoffs once? Mm-hmm. Since this whole thing started. Vladdy had his MVP season, and then just he's starting to come around.
Yeah, he's having a pretty good year this year. Not so much of the power numbers, but
and he kind of set the bar pretty high during that MVP season. And Bo Bichette is, he was supposed to be like this next, shortstop savant, hit over 300, and has really been he hasn't even been a top 10 shortstop in the field. Made a run at the batting title for a little bit a couple years ago, and then fell off, and really hasn't been the same since. So first of all, do you think either of these guys are moved prior to the deadline, or is this more of an off-season type thing?
Oh boy, I don't know. I think this is more of an off-season thing. I just don't think the market's going to be super high for him. I mean, hard to find somebody that's going to want to take on the Vladdy, just because you're going to have to give up so much for him, and the power numbers have been down.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette, he's, to me, is like, I used to be really, really high on Bo Bichette, and I've lost a lot of it. He's just has really looked miserable a lot of times at the plate this year, to where I can't imagine any teams have much interest in him.
And if you look around the league, 2Ks,
that's what I'm trying to look at too. Is trying to find a team that's really, really struggling for a shortstop.
But that's going to be my point. There really isn't. The Yankees are set.
I'm a Tigers
Orioles.
fan. I'll take Bo Bichette over Javi Baez any fucking day of the week. But then again, Bo Bichette's hitting numbers aren't that much better than Baez, and I would take Baez in the field over Bichette any day. So it's like, that's where I have Bichette as being better than Baez, and obviously have him higher up, but he's not much higher up. So that's where I don't think teams are going to be. I don't think teams are going to be really all that.
I got it, 2Ks. The Padres. Why not? Add one more shortstop. The whole team's fucking shortstops, except for Luis Arias and Jake Cronenworth. Everyone else is a shortstop. But yeah, Jake
Cronenworth came up as a shortstop.
Yeah. But what we're seeing is, it's kind of alluding to our top 5 here, is there's a lot of really, really good shortstops right now. Flip back to, kind of when I was growing up, it was the whole A-Rod, Jeter, Nomar, that crew and Cal Ripken Jr. and that whole crew that kind of, led to a lot of these guys coming in. And we're seeing kind of the fruits of that labor, because with the exception of the Dodgers, you look at the Dodgers, their shortstop's is a right fielder, came up as a center fielder, and is playing very, very good shortstop. Who would have ever thought Mookie Betts would be the starting shortstop for the LA Dodgers in 2024? Not me, but he's not a defensive liability. He's very good there. A lot of people thought that the move from the outfield to shortstop in particular would kind of take away from his hitting, and that hasn't. So, I mean, you're finding shortstops. I mean, it seems like they're growing on trees these days, and Bo Bichette just kind of came up at the wrong time, and this slump is. Can he get out of this slump? Yeah,
Sure.
I really do.
And maybe the change of scenery is what he needs. And so I was just looking here, a team that because I think you could probably get Bichette and not have to give up very much for him.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Okay.
Cleveland Guardians. They have a pretty. I mean, one of the best teams in baseball. They have a pretty gaping hole at shortstop right now. It's a position that they really need to get better at. Bo Bichette, change of scenery, put him on a team that's at the top of the league right now. Maybe that's a good destination for him.
Put him next to Ramirez. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I could dig that. I definitely think if Vladdy is moved, I do think that is more of a off-season type thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do too.
What about Alex Bregman? 2Ks last year, the contract in a walk year has not gone nearly what the way he thought it would. He's kind of that last. Him and Altuve are kind of the last holdovers from that started the run. We'll get into are they are the Astros done this year or not? But again, this is kind of if I'm trading for Alex Bregman, you have to at this point you would have to be very, very inept at third base. Because he's not providing a whole lot of pop. Yeah. He's not providing a whole lot of average.
This team that's playing right now, I think, is a team that...
The Yankees?
Yeah.
I'd take LeMahieu over him.
I mean...
But then
man, I don't know. You get into postseason ball, I'm taking Bregman.
Yeah.
There's something about those veterans that have been there in the big situations, and how many times have you seen Bregman with big hits and big situations and big games?
True.
I think they're and to me, like Cabrera is their third baseman in the future. He's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of reps there. I'm not saying he's going to be the third baseman in the future, but he's one of the guys that's in the running for it, along with another. The Yankees got a lot of young kids coming up that are in that position. Bregman is a guy that he's on the walk here, and you're not going to have to do a whole lot to you're not going to have to get rid of much to bring him in. I think Yankee fans would be pretty happy. If I'm a Yankees fan, I'm happy if you make a move and Bregman comes there. He's the kind of guy that I want. He's not having as good of a season, but the dude fucking shows up in big time situations, and he's been there. He's won the World Series. He's got the rings. He's played in that, and that to me is what this Yankees team really, really needs. They're one of the best teams in baseball. They have a lot of guys some fucking studs, but they don't have a lot of guys that have been in the big situations. To me, if you can get Bregman on a good deal and not have to give up too much for him on a walk year, you're still not blocking any of your young talent because you're probably not re-signing him. You're going to let him go walk at the end of the year.
He's definitely a rental.
He's definitely good. Yeah. He's a good piece that if you're one of the better teams in baseball and you're competing, he's a guy that I'd be looking to bring in.
I never thought about it like that, but that would give him a little bit of value for sure. How about and I'm asking this kind of tongue in cheek because the Cardinals aren't as bad as they once were this season. But how about your boy Nolan Arenado? Speaking of third baseman,
it seems like he's in the conversation. Every year at this time, they're always, especially the last couple of years, where St. Louis has not been as good as what the plans were when Arenado went there. It'd be awfully hard for me to
big
see
contract.
a deal get moved because of the contract is so big. And let's just be honest, Arenado has not been the same Arenado.
It seems
still
like
very, very good. And a lot of teams that would definitely take him.
Yeah, defensively, still great.
Yeah.
And both him and Paul Goldschmidt, even though Paul Goldschmidt has some ridiculous on-base streak that everyone's just jazzed about, but both of them are hitting below 250. The power numbers aren't there. If I remember correctly, the Goldschmidt deal was bigger than Arenado, so I'm not sure either one of these guys actually leave or get shipped out of St. Louis, but it's definitely worth kind of kind of keep your ear to the ground. And to be honest with you, if a whole lot of players are moved, we are going to see a lot of third baseman and first baseman potentially moved here. I personally think this trade deadline and leading up to it is going to be a lot more on the pitching side, whether that be bullpen or starters. I think that's where a lot of the action is going to go, especially considering the last 4 or 5 guys that we've talked about here. They are veterans, whereas the Luis Robert, Mason Miller, those guys are still very, very young.
Sure.
Whole lot of control. So, yes, would have to garner a bigger package. Maybe we're looking at multiple team deals. So, but 2 other guys here, 2Ks, from a Mets team that we said was, 3 or 4 games back of the wild card, has really looked bad. And so much so that the reason they traded Verlander and Scherzer last year was because they said, you know what, we're not going to be competitive this year. But 2 guys that kind of jump off the page here, JD Martinez and Pete Alonso. Martinez is on a 1-year deal, I believe, and Alonso, this is his walk year. And both guys, I mean, JD started the season on IL, is just kind of getting back into it, I guess. But Alonso has had a very down last couple years. Yeah, he's awesome in the home run derby. I was a big fan of his, but man, it just seems like he just can't get anything going. But he is one of those guys that I think, getting back to your point, at a change of scenery, I think he would benefit a ton from a change in scenery, just because that it seems like that Mets organization is just so toxic that and Pete was there prior to the ownership change, so he's been homegrown there. So I but yet again, because this is a walk year for Alonso, you don't want to give up too much if you're not going to re-sign him.
Sure.
And he's going to be garnering 250 plus, I would assume. And is a player like that with this production really worth it? So those are questions that I think are kind of muddy in the waters. I mean, JD is, I mean the Mets signed him kind of to prepare themselves for him to be a rental.
Sure.
So that right there, I really don't have a problem with. But I have a feeling that the Mets are going to have a hard time moving Alonso. And the reason I put Alonso on this list, 2Ks, and not the shortstop, drew a blank. Mets shortstop.
Lindor.
Yeah. Lindor is that younger, fresh face that I think they're going to try to build around. Not to say that Alonso couldn't be that guy.
Sure.
But they, right now, as far as money is concerned, they have more locked up in Lindor than they do Alonso. So that's the reason I kind of put him on the list as opposed to Lindor. But do you see any team going after Alonso, or is this again after the season?
No, I don't see anybody having really any interest in Alonso now or after the season. There's just going to be too much that has to go into it. To me, the Mets are the only place that I think that, and I don't think the money that he's gonna get is not gonna be, and there's not gonna be any long term with him. No. So if any other team is gonna be willing to sign him, it's going to be a 1-year deal. He's a home run derby guy. That's all that's really all he brings to the table. Doesn't hit for average. The power numbers continue to go down. He is phenomenal at hitting in the home run derby. He's nothing as far as defense of a threat. I think his days of being a difference maker on the field are behind him. And I mean,
for the right price, I would take a flyer on him if my team needed a first baseman.
Yeah, I mean, the right price would be
or
super
DH.
Fucking basically nothing, and it would be 1 year.
Yeah. Just because, yes, I'm a firm believer in the change of scenery for any of the Mets. But yeah, I really don't see anyone giving him the keys to the castle, if you want to think about it that way. Well, 2Ks, let's wrap up the way too early trades here with we saw his kind of running mate here traded already to the Padres. What about Jazz Chisholm? I mean, the Marlins are indeed yet again a dumpster fire for like the 5th time in their existence. And again, this is a player like Luis Robert, very young, probably still has years before arbitration left. He in my eyes, and maybe it's because I haven't watched a whole lot of Marlins baseball because we're in Michigan, and like I said, they're not very good. Excuse me, kind of caught me by surprise. He has had some injury troubles. I think the upside is there, but we already talked about kind of the kind of log jam at shortstop. I'm not ready to put him up there with, say, even O'Neal Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz, Jackson Holiday, that type of, Gunnar Henderson is what I meant. I don't think he's in that same class as those young guys. But then again, maybe again, shitty organization. And when he actually, hit the show, he was very good. Sure. He was his rookie year, he was sensational. Again, got banged up. So this is a guy I'm saying that the Marlins are going to keep him. I don't think this is a trade deadline deal. If they do decide to move him, but then again, the Marlins, you never know. You never know. Especially, I mean, if Jeter was there, this guy would have been gone 3 years ago. Right. But do you think Jazz has any value in this market right now?
Not really.
I'm right there with you, really. And it's sad because he can be a very good player.
Yeah, he can be. And to me, though, when you start looking at guys that can make big differences for teams like down the stretch, you're looking at pitching is number one, and then guys like we talked about in the beginning, like Luis Robert style bats, where if they're healthy, they completely change the dynamic of an offense with their presence on the field. And for me, guys like a Jazz Chisholm or even like Bo Bichette, who we talked about earlier, they just don't do that for them. So unless would it shock me if they get moved? Well, a guy like Bo Bichette, probably not, because I think that Toronto's got to go back into rebuilding mode, and basically blow this whole thing up and start over. To where Miami is probably not going to be willing to just give up on a Jazz Chisholm and give him away for nothing, because they're still in the middle of this rebuilding, and he's a major focal point of that rebuild. Right. So they're not going to be willing to just give up on him, in my opinion. I'm not saying that these guys couldn't make a difference on a different team, but they're not going to be like the team or these teams that are going for a World Series this year. They're not going to be making moves like this, and this is what's going to put them over the top. Right. These teams that are going for a World Series, they're making moves for Luis Robert style players or Mason Miller style players that they can put in the back end of their bullpen, and all of a sudden they go from being really, really good to being the fucking favorite to win it all. Those are those style players that we're looking for that make a big difference. There's going to be moves, just like there is every single year at the deadline, that kind of fly under the radar. People don't talk about them. As the season goes on, you do talk about them. That's, to me, like when I said Bo Bichette chance he could go to Cleveland. That could be a move where nobody really talks about it, and then when it's going down, like going down the stretch of the season, you're like, oh shit, Bo Bichette's he's batted 300 since he got to Cleveland. He's picked up the power numbers. He had 4 home runs right at this time in the season, and he ends the season with 20 home runs. Like that could happen. Yeah, but it's not. That's not going to be the move that puts Cleveland over the top to be. Where when they make that move, you're not saying, well, shit, they're the favorite now. Right. I like them more than I like the Yankees or more than I like Baltimore. That's not the case with them. So could Chisholm move? I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening at all. But is it a possibility? Fuck, everything's a possibility at this time. And I mean, it seems like every year there's always those trades that just kind of blow you away. Like, what the fuck? What's the plan here? Right. And it's usually made by like a team like Tampa or something like that. Well, 2Ks, we're kind of running out of time here, so we'll save the hard-hitting questions for the next time we get together, because 2Ks, we haven't done top 5 in forever. And I feel like the 2K crew need a good top 5.
And this week is top 5 shortstops playing right now. Right, I'm not talking about at 9:19 on Sunday, because there'd only be 2 of them to choose from right now. But those 2 might be on your list, 2Ks. You never know. You never know. Like I said, top 5 shortstops playing right now. Care if I start?
Go ahead.
All right. Number 5, I'm going to go Corey Seager, number 5. I mean, he's probably the elder statesman on this list for me. World Series champion twice now. Him and Simeon kind of have solidified that Rangers middle of the infield. I know the Rangers have kind of been garbage so far this year, but he out of all of the him, Correa, Baez, that whole crew that hit free agency all at once. I think a lot of us were talking about how the Rangers kind of overpaid for Corey Seager, but he's delivered better than any of the other 2. That's for sure. So give me him at number 5. And number 4, let's see, number 4, give me, I'm going to go O'Neal Cruz here at number 4. Upside huge. He's having a very, very solid year. Is it a very good, the numbers are, jumping off the page? No. But yeah, I love his game. I love what he does. I love that he's doing it in Pittsburgh, and not in one of the, Yankee Dodger type, situations. So give me him at 4. At 3, let's take the other Cruz. Give me Ellie. Give me Ellie at 3. We've talked about it many times. It's like O'Neal and Ellie are kind of the same player. It's just what puts Ellie just a little bit more of O'Neal is he has that wow factor. I mean, we're seeing him. He's leading, everything in stolen bases right now, and just that factor alone, I think he plays a little bit better of a shortstop than O'Neal does right now. So yeah, give me him at number 3. Number 2, give me Bobby Witt Jr. And I have a feeling both of us are going to have the same number 1 and 2. However, whichever one you go with.
Where do you put Mookie though?
No, I'm not putting him in it.
Mookie's not a shortstop?
No. You have to play more than 60 games at shortstop to make my list, 2Ks. You got to have it.
All right, that's fair. Well, Mookie's will no longer be in my top 5 then.
Well, that he's not in Boston anymore. So. And then number 1, give me Gunnar. I mean, this we've ranted and raved about him being in the MVP conversation, which he should. I think he's number 2 right now, with just behind Judge. So yeah, give me Gunnar Henderson at number 1, and I think he's going to be. And it was hard to choose between number 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I think both these guys are.
I think you can make a case for either one of them.
Yeah,
and I mean, not to give away my list, but I have the same 1 and 2.
Yeah,
or same players in my 1 and 2. I'm not going to tell you that I have the same order, but yeah, you can make a case for both of them, and you can't really go wrong with either one. But for mine, at number 5, my number 5 guy is actually not healthy right now, but when he does come back, he's going to go right back into the everyday shortstop for what is right now the best team in baseball. I'm going to go Trey Turner at number 5.
You've always loved you some Trey Turner.
He can just do everything. Clutch hitter. Big moments. It's when you see normally him do his best work. Still does his thing, stealing bases. One of the best base stealers in all of baseball.
Best slides in baseball.
Yes, so smooth. So I got him at number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna go Corey Seager. Dude's just consistent. I mean, just you know what you're gonna get out of him. You don't see as many of the spectacular plays at shortstop or anything like that, but he makes everything. And
when he gets hot at the plate, there's probably not a better hitter in baseball.
Yeah. Yep. Number 3, I'm gonna go Ellie. A lot of with Ellie is upside. Probably, arguably, the most upside of anybody in all of baseball, as far as what he can bring to the table. His numbers that he has in just his young career so far are fucking incredible. And I believe, I have no reason other than to believe it's just going to continue to get better and better. So the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit for this kid, and I think in a couple more years we could be talking about him at number one in this argument. At number 2, I'm going to go Gunnar.
Oh, you're taking Bobby number 1, huh?
I freaking love everything about Gunnar Henderson. Has become one of my favorite players in the league just in these last couple of years. Dude has got so much fucking power. Just a sweet left-handed swing. Going to be at the top of baseball for years and years as far as home run numbers, just because of that swing alone. But number 1, I got to go Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt, number 1, is he going to ever hit for the power that Gunnar does? I don't believe so. But he's just good at everything.
Yeah.
He has the base. He steals the bases that I don't think Gunnar is ever going to steal bases to that caliber. Can Gunnar steal bases? Yes, he's got some speed, but not like Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt with the extra base as far as the doubles and the triples. He's not going to have the home run numbers, but he's going to lead baseball in triples, with exception of maybe Ellie De La Cruz, just because of his ungodly
Jaron
speed.
Duran.
But Witt's is on the bases so often that Witt's going to be at the top of the league every single year in stolen bases. Defensively, I think he's very, very, very good at this point in his career. You can't go wrong with really any of these 3 shortstops. They're all so young. We haven't even seen the best baseball with any of the 3 yet. They're only going to continue to get better. But just with where I rank him at right now, I have to go Bobby Witt number 1 just because of the full. He just has everything right now. There's really no weakness in his game at all.
I thought for sure you'd go Gunnar number 1.
It's hard. I love Gunnar, and because we've been talking here, recently about doing a draft, and those are 2 players that I think are 3 players that I think are at the top of that draft.
Well, here's Fox Sports top 10 shortstops right now. They have Corey Seager number 1, Mookie number 2, and we got to scroll down a million miles because there's all this ads and shit. Francisco Lindor 3, Trey Turner 4, Gunnar Henderson 5, Bobby Witt 6, Bo Bichette 7. One guy that if he was having a better season this year would make my list is Dansby Swanson. Love me some Dansby. Love the way he plays. Love his game. Number 9, Carlos Correa. Disagree with that wholeheartedly. And number 10 to round out. Number 10 is Ellie De La Cruz. So I think this. I'm not sure who wrote this, so we can give them credit, or so I can rip on them, because I think they're vastly mistaken on a lot of these. And maybe they're trying to go with whole career as opposed to playing right now. It's from Disha Thosar, MLB writer. This was April 3rd, so it's relatively up to date. So it's not like it was written 2 years ago. She says, sure, a typical top 10 shortstop and Xander Bogaerts departs the list in lieu of new defensive position at second base. Well, no shit. But in no time at all, Gunnar Henderson promptly took his place in the rankings, and the infusion of young talent over the years has made for a shortstop position with no shortage of flair and experience for 2024 and beyond. So kudos to you, Disha. I think some of our picks are a little bit different than yours, because I would take every single one of the guys on my list over Carlos Correa any day.
Yeah, same. Another kid that not in my top 5 now, but definitely could be there in the next couple of years, because I think he's going to continue to get better, is Anthony Volpe here playing for the Yankees.
Yeah. He's the glove's always been there. It's the hitting that's coming around, and he's coming around very nicely. Shitty part for him is everyone's constantly and historically going to be comparing him to Jeter, which is completely unfair.
Right.
But yeah, it's a very tough road to hoe for him. But he's definitely holding up his end of this Yankees machine that I think we're going to be talking about obviously all year long. So, well, 2Ks. We got 13 people, 13 viewers watching us. Thank you again for spending your Sunday night with us. Hopefully you're watching us as well as some of the other sports going on. Since my phone's doing the TikTok 2Ks, What is the score for the Mavs game? I saw the Mavs were up going into at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, and then I think Boston was ahead at halftime, but it was close. And now it's just starting the third quarter, and Boston is ahead 56-55.
Ooh, close game. Close
Should be
game.
a good second half.
Absolutely. And I'd ask who you're picking, but the playoffs are probably going to be going on until July 4th. So,
Right, yeah.
But I'm even though I'm not a huge team guy when it comes to basketball. You and I are both really big Luka fans, and it would be super awesome to see him win.
I would like to win. I would like to see Dallas win it all. There's some guys on that Boston team that I do like also.
I like Tatum.
Yeah, same. I've always been a big Tatum fan. Would not.
And Tatum needs this for kind of his not only to cement his legacy in the NBA, but his legacy in Boston. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that I really don't I don't have a dog in the fight. Anytime you get to see Luka play is awesome.
Yeah.
So but with this matchup, it's more, are you siding with the best player on the floor, or are you siding with the better team on the floor?
Right.
And that Mavs team goes as Luka and Kyrie go, and Kyrie was kind of nowhere to be found game one. Sounds like, I haven't looked at the box score, but from the sounds of it, he's having a better game too. Or Luka's just going absolutely nuclear.
I think Luka. I know as I was looking at the first quarter numbers, Luka's having one of those nights where he's going to be very tough to beat.
Probably a good night to throw a triple-double bet on.
Yeah.
Which you could do that every night for all 81 games and probably be up money.
Yeah, they're 4 minutes into the third quarter, and he's got 23 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. So
yeah, well on his way.
Well on his way.
What's Kyrie got?
Kyrie is 10 points. 10 points, 3 assists.
Okay, so he's already off to a better start than game one. So, well, 2K Crew, like I said, thank you for watching. If you are on the YouTube side, don't forget to hit that subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified every time we go live. If you're over on Twitter, love each and every one of you guys. And if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/2K Crew, get on over and join there. Everyone have a great week, and we do not have a show next week because it is Father's Day. So everyone, if you are a dad, congratulations. Enjoy your day. If not, spend it with your dad. Again, tell him how much you love him and how much he means to you. So 2K Crew will get you out of here on that. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.